Right, welcome to another CAN Diagnostic video. Today I'm just going to have a quick look at my tool cart, diagnostic cart. Just obviously the usual, a few scanners on it, a screen that can't get the resolution right, it's a pain in the bleeding ass. Just a couple of laptops, and I'll just get into it, have a look. Obviously we've got the Verus. Well overrated tool in my eyes. I only use it for the scope. The scanner is, I just don't think it's that much cop, to be honest. This is my Butte Maxis Elite. This is my favourite for the cars and vans. Programming, a lot more adaptions, a lot of stuff that the Verus doesn't do, and the update price for the Verus is ridiculous. I'm still on 18.4. I ain't going to bother upgrading because of the price of the update, and really all you're paying, well, a lot of what you're paying for is just bugs that have been fixed basically. Nah, and for me. Obviously you got the fob tester. I think what's in this. I think this is the. It's quite awkward one hand. Thermal laser, thermal gauge, thermal camera, whatever you want to call it. Pretty self-explanatory. Shine it in my heart, be pretty cold. Mainly use that for circuit boards more than anything. See if anything's getting hotter than it should, or cats. It's quite expensive, but it's the older version, so I got it a bit cheaper. Couple of laptops. This is my main one. Basically, it's just all my programming, mapping, the EEPROM work, stuff like that. Nothing too exciting. One below it, another ThinkPad. That's BMW dealer tools. The one underneath that, I'll be doing different videos on these laptops. That one's lorry diagnostics, so that will do, yeah, MAN, Scanias, Volvos, Renaults, DAFs, the lot. Got all the programming tools in that. But again, that'll be another video. Top drawer, usual stuff, signal generator, cheap thing, but in used with the ABS leads. You can push like a sine wave, push a sine wave up the vehicle, up the lorry, up the car, whatever, and then read the live data on the scanner. And if your speed goes up, then you know you're wiring from where you're testing upwards, up the lorry, up the car, up to the ABS unit, up to the scanner. You know that's A-OK, and then you should be tracing your work backwards, back to the speed sensor, etc. Again, just another cheap and nasty 12-volt relay tester. That's 24 volts. Ooh, well, there should be a test light in there. That was a 24 volt test light. Obviously different types of electrical tape, an old Opcom, more leads, more batteries, little circuit tester, reading the amperage. This is a test button for another little tool down below. I'll shut that if I can. Just more test leads in here, jumper wires, fuse jumper wires that I've made, just in case I'm not 100% sure what I'm jumping. Just put a little 1 amp fuse in here, 5 amp, whatever, just so that it blows my fuse instead of blowing anything that I don't want it to blow. Little practice waveform simulator that I got off the Snap-on man. He hadn't got a clue what it was, so he gave it me. So that's mine. Right, more jumper leads, T-pins for spreading those terminals open with hammer. Another jumper lead, put this in the fuse, in line with the fuse, and you can put the amp clamp on it, see how much we're drawing. Because I work on 12 volt and 24, I don't leave bulbs in anything. because the amount of times I've been testing 12 volt stuff and I've got a 24 volt bulb in it, and I'm wondering why the bleeding thing ain't lighting up. That's for testing heated circuits on O2 sensors, lambda sensors. Scanner down a special test light. This one's Mac though, but it's exactly the same thing. I always cut the end off and put a 4mm banana on it, so I could put different adapters on, crocodile clips, wire piercers. Not that I ever do that, of course. I think that's an adapter for a Kia. Terminal kit for getting the tiny terminals at the sockets. Some 120 ohm fuses, more jumpers, temperature sensor. I think this is a 5000 ohm for jumping different circuits, potentiometers, things like that. Some relay jumpers, more terminal kits, just the cheap nasty ones, but they do the job grand. Making up my own leads, odd fuses. These solder connectors, they're alright. Prefer just to solder them straight, but they are good. This little thing is for testing mains electric, but it's also a good quick test. Put it on a relay. See, when the relay clicks, this little thing flashes. It's just a quick and dirty test to make sure you've got signal. More test probes. A lot of test probes. That's that for that drawer. Then get into my favourite drawer. This is me goodies. Alright, shout out to the Irish lad, Bodgett and Leggett Leon, having some problems testing a piezo crystal injector, and the scope waveform was great. The resistance seemed alright, so I got one of these. It is his suggestion. And what it does is it puts like 100 volts or whatever down through the injector. And it's an insulation tester, so it's testing the insulation, and it was knackered. So even though the waveform and everything was good, failed the test on this. Swap that injector out, boom, sorted. Amp clamp, just a cheap Handtech one, the low amp clamp. These are great, does exactly what it says on the tin it needs to do. I wouldn't leave the batteries in though, 9 volt batteries, because it doesn't matter if it's turned off, it still eats the batteries. Little voltage probe, so this puts down, I don't know what it goes down as low, I think it goes up to about 7.5 volts. So for reference voltages on cars, the lorries, it's all the same, it's all 5 volts. Put this on, put 5 volts, it's a lot safer. Bigger amp clamp, obviously for alternators, battery leads. It's big enough to get on the lorries, because there's some hefty leads on that. Smaller amp clamp, another multimeter. Resistance box, decade box. This is a fairly cheap one, I think it was about 100 quid. But it's great. It goes right up to about, I think it's about 10,000 ohms, 10 million ohms. It's good. Obviously, the shit on scanner. Breakout box. I would have preferred these to have been, I think this is the same as the Power Probe one. I would have preferred them to be 4mm banana, but they're not. They're even smaller, but it doesn't really matter. I think that's what these ones are for. Plug them in, 4mm banana in it, done. This, I think that's a sine wave generator. It's been a long time since I used it. Bad boy, well overpriced multimeter, but I got it for cost because the bloke couldn't shift it, so I had that. This is my favourite one. Two scope multimeter. It's brilliant. They're not as expensive as they used to be. Backlit screen, Bluetooth to my Verus. If I ever wanted to do that, I've done it once to make sure it works. It does work, but I never use it. But it's good for getting those quick signals instead of getting the leads out to get the Verus on it. Bish bash bosh, stick that in. just to verify you've got a signal. If the signal doesn't look great, if the waveform isn't great, then obviously I'll go onto the bigger screen. But it's great just to see if you're making sure you've got the overall waveform. This, I think this is a little bore scope camera. Nothing special, but it does the job grand. The next ones, these are just, I don't know what I'm going to do with these at the minute. I'll do a full video, in-length video about these tools. I'm not going to do it today, I'll try and get another video out of it. This is a Davey machine, VCI 4. It's a DAF dealer tool that does all my programming, ECU recovery work, things like that. This is Mancats 2 T200, so again, this is for MAN dealer tool. This does all the same programming, calibrations, etc. on the MAN trucks. Iveco ECI, just again, Iveco dealer tool, same as above, does all of what I need it to do. This one is this Vocom is the Volvo and Renault dealer tool for wagons. Again, same applies, programming, calibrations, live data, diagnostics, etc. This one is Scania, again, programming, calibrations, blah 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 blah. I'll do some videos of them in the future. And then we go to Nord lights. Everywhere. Alex. This in this bag, nothing special, just a RPM sensor, I think, RPM pickup. Yeah, I've got to be honest, seldom do I use it. Good, just to note, quick hookup to OBD, like a memory saver on the batteries. I'm paying 50 odd quid for one off Snap-on and made my own for about 30 pence. This little thing here, that is atrocious. It will be sorted. A little story behind this thing. Snap-on bloke brought it. It's just a battery tester, wireless battery tester. Does all stop-start batteries, all the special kind. Supposed to hook up wirelessly to a printer. However, I don't know if it's a UK thing or an EU thing, but this won't connect to any printers in the EU. So the Snap-on bloke fucked up royally, and he ended up giving me for 100 quid. I think he had 100 quid loss on this. I think this was about 400 quid supposed to have been, but he couldn't sell it because it doesn't work in this country. But it matters not. If the customer doesn't believe me, then that's their problem at the end of the day. I don't go around printing. I ain't got time for printing little pictures of this saying your battery's bollocks. It's bollocks, it's bollocks, it's simple. But it works great. They do 24 volt ones. I don't really see the point in them because you need to be testing each battery individually anyway. So even if I had the 24 volt one, I'd still be using it, testing that batteries individually. So it's just a quick one. Obviously, liquid tape. The back, just a battery for the Solus. So I've got a plethora of diagnostic tools. I've got dealer tools for nearly everything, nearly every car. Obviously all your Tech 2s, BMW tools, everything. All the dealers for the lorries. So I will do an in-depth video on all of those. But until next time, ta-da.